A lot of people have questions about covens and coven life, circles, groups, things of that nature. Coven seems to be a term more often than not associated with what is known as Wicca or witchcraft per se. There is a difference between those two words that we'll get into later. Coven is not a devil worship word at all. It means coming together, like convene, or coventry, which is like a controlled community, is usually controlled by a coventry. It's like its own little social group network. But most importantly, it is its own. So you will find that a lot of people will spout titles from one group or another, or think that if you are in one coven and have attained a specific rank or degree or level, that that everyone learns the same, and there really is not much of a standard for that at this point. Some traditions have tried to put that down, and that's kind of what quote-unquote Wicca is trying to standardize that tradition. But it's not a necessary part of Magick. It's just become the most publicly famous household word associated with the magical tradition today. So there are covens not necessarily associated with Wicca. Druids, neo-Druids, use the term grove, as in a circle of trees, but they use the term grove in place of coven. Some groups use the word circle also, but this can sometimes be misleading as to when you're referring to the circle, if it's the specific area where you're meeting or the group. But all those are very, very much a part of the magical tradition. Like minds think alike, that seems to be a cliche statement, but specifically in the magical tradition, especially in our day and age and for the last couple thousand years, the wizards and mystics kind of band together and work beneath the surface underground, so to speak, within society. No longer do we at present have the outright roles that once there was, but they're still there in other forms. There are inner and outer circles within a coven usually. There's an inner circle usually based up of leading members or founding members or adept elders, and then an outer circle which is those that have come to this group to mainly learn, and then the inner circle are the ones that are basically doing the teaching. And sometimes they're separated as far as certain operations, only the inner members will be allowed to participate or be involved that day, and then, there's also closed and open groups or covens or circles or groves. Closed ones, they do not solicit any kind of superfluous membership or recruiting or anything like that. They exist for and as themselves, sometimes as a family, genetically passed down, or a close circle of friends that has worked together for some time. But these groups do not usually allow outsiders that have not personally been petitioned in to enter. Open covens, depending on where you live, sometimes they post things up at your local New Age store and freely solicit membership and involvement. So there are definitely options out there. As far as yourself, depending on what level you're at, there seems to be this incessant need to want to be in a group or do things like this. And so one thing that some people will do if they can't find one is start it on their own. This is okay if it's a study group meant to be a group of people experimenting together as equals, looking into things. But when it comes to leadership training and things like that, I don't recommend novices, beginners, going out and starting their own groups and be developing all these labels for themselves and saying they're of such and such degree and whatnot. So At this point, there really are very few accredited universities that delve into metaphysical, quantum things in general. So these are the things you go to school for. This is something you pretty much have to prove with your aptitude, ability, experience, and whatnot as far as your rank. So those are some information on covens and circles and groups found in the New Age magical tradition.